Hey guys, what's going on? Xbox All In channel, host Sega Forever. Nothing fancy today, man. As you can see, just some Saturday morning programming, which is All In chat. It's going to be open mic. If you guys want to jump in, talk about it. We can talk about Xbox. We can talk about everything, pop culture. Um, like I said, that's why I'm doing an All In chat. See what the chat has to say. Any kind of commentary is welcome, man. There's some stuff that I do want to talk about. And sorry about the noise again. Welcome to the jungle. When I do my show early on Saturday morning, at least early for me on Saturday morning. I know most of you guys are probably in the afternoon. Um, but yeah, man, we're just gonna keep it kind of free, kind of loose. I'll give you guys some time to see if anybody pops in, and then address the chat. That's why I like to do these. Really love the chat, man. Like I said, I'm not a big channel. Don't get a lot of traffic and stuff like that, but the traffic I do get, dude, I absolutely love it, man. You guys are always on point when I do these videos, man. You guys have great commentary. That's why sometimes I feel bad because we'll have people on the show and then we don't get around to getting to the chat. And but that's the good thing about the chat, man. And shout out to Other Zinc, man. He always commented on the chat, especially when it comes to Xbox chat rooms and stuff like that, dude. He always talks about how people are engaged, even though we don't get a chance to get to all the commentary and stuff like that. So that's something that I really appreciate from you guys. And yeah, that's why I like to do this kind of stuff, dude. And like I said, I have stuff to talk about. Um, one of the things I will talk about a little bit, but like I said, we'll give a couple minutes. But I definitely want to talk about Avowed. I put some stuff out there. Been playing the game a lot. Actually, been playing it nonstop. You know, and again, by my standard of what nonstop is, guys, I know a lot of us, yeah, and you guys understand. I know because we have lives and stuff. There's things that we have to do, things we just can't ignore. It's funny because when I was younger, man, I had time to play games. It's one of my biggest hobbies. That and collecting comic books, collecting reading comics and stuff like that. But when I was younger, man, I just didn't have the money. You know what I mean? And now that roles have reversed, now I don't have the time because I'm older. And then some of it, man, dude, look, dude, I'm an older gamer, and so I'll be honest with you guys, man, I can't hang like I used to. Those days of playing Tecmo Bowl, man, like just staying up almost 24 hours a day, every day, playing Super Tecmo Bowl, man. Those days are long gone for me. If I even attempt to try and stay up late, dude, I'll pay for it the next day. Back then, man, you just got a couple hours sleep, got up, did your, you might have been tired, right? But you just went to work or you just did what you needed to do. And it's kind of funny though, but when you get back to well, when you get back to your house, get back to your room, wherever your system was, dude, that system would turn right on and then you'd be fine. But that's in the younger days, man. That's in my younger days. I can't do that stuff anymore. In fact, so like I said, man, we'll talk about Avowed. But I've been playing Avowed, really enjoying the game. I'm kind of surprised at how much I enjoyed the game because I have experience with Obsidian. Couldn't really play Outer Worlds because I don't know what it was, man. I said that before in other videos. I couldn't play Outer Worlds. I would get nauseous and dizzy, and I was kind of afraid I'd have the same experience with Avowed. But luckily I haven't, and that's why like some people are like, "Oh, you don't seem to be hyped about Avowed." I'm like, "No, I am. Just you know, it's just not." There's other games that I was looking forward to. One of those games got pushed back to 2026, which is Fable. We could talk about that, dude, because I think there's some stuff going on with Fable beyond what people are saying. I mean, not that I'm complaining, dude. Xbox has a ton of games that we can play. Um, so I'm not. We're not hurting for any games. Um, don't believe all the drama and all the lies that are out there, dude. Hold on, guys. Let me make sure this. We have no shortage of games, man. The amount of times I turn on my Xbox and just look at the games on my screen that I was playing and I kind of put to the side because I'm playing something else is maddening to me. Okay, looks like I'm alive. Okay, sorry guys, I just wanted to check something. Right, because I feel some sort of way about that. You know what I'm saying? But I'm enjoying the experience, dude. At the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. So I don't feel too bad about it. But I'm looking at Indiana Jones now. I spent so much time in the back and I never progressed, and then other stuff popped up, and not just in games, not just in the games, but just things I had to do. And so it got kind of put to the wayside, and then I started a Valve, which I shouldn't have done. I should have got back and finished Indiana Jones, but and I will. I'll go back and finish it. Because at the end of the day, dude, it is about the experience, and the experience I'm having right now on Xbox is, when it comes to games, all the other drama stuff aside. In fact, everything aside from the drama that goes on with Xbox, from all the hate that they get, and some of it's drama of their own making, for being honest, right? But at the end of the day, man, you stay in tune with their ecosystem and just play the games, man. You all of that stuff goes over your head. Yeah. Again, they're a $3 trillion company. I talked about this. We just did a video. Dave was nice enough to jump in, and we talked about quantum mechanics, and not quantum mechanics, but quantum computing. Talked about the new chip Microsoft has. I just saw an article the other day where Microsoft just, I guess they got rid of Skype, right? Something that they paid a lot of money for, at least by what my standards of a lot of money is. Well, hold on, guys. Hold on. Yeah, that's my neighborhood. Uh, by those standards, what I would think a lot of money is, I think it was like 1.8 billion back in the day. And they integrated it, and they kept it going, and kept it, and it was something you think that they would use forever. But now they have teams, right? So hold on, guys. But now they have teams, right? And teams. Look, dude, I use teams just about every day, um, or not just about. I use it every day, and not even for. I mean, I use it for chats and stuff, like when we have meetings and stuff like that. But I mean, just for the communication aspect of it, messaging people back and forth. So many people are on it, especially at my job. It's easier to reach them that way than email, right? There's a stigma about email. When you send somebody an email message to, people just tend to kind of not respond right away or ignore it. But for some reason on Teams now, people are quick to respond. And I think because this, Teams, you just keep it open. And they're probably doing other stuff on Teams, or they're, some of the stuff, when you work in like an administrative environment, especially, right? These people are on meetings all the time on Teams. So the stuff pops up so they see it more, right? As opposed to email, you got to open it up. And I think personally, it's just a stigma when it comes to email, right? And who knows, man? Who knows how far they'll take it with Teams, or if they won't? You never know with Microsoft. And that's the only caveat I tell people who own Xboxes, right? And one of the concerns I have, out of the many non-concerns I have, that's one of the concerns I have about Xbox, because they are so big, right? And they do have a lot of money, which is a boon, right, for the system and for the ecosystem that they built, right? Because they have the money. But on the flip side of that, Microsoft as a business, you see them do something like that, where they just, they'll just retire something because it's not that it's bad or it's doing bad or it's not making money. It's just that it doesn't fit their goals or their plans, or they just, they get tired of it, right? And that's kind of the flip side of them having a lot of money, because when you have a lot of money, sometimes you can do things like that, and you're basically untouchable, right? That's why, for me, guys, again, on this channel, I've never really worried about companies taking Microsoft out, right? That's why I always tell you guys, and I'll be 100 with you guys on this channel. That's a point of consideration, and the point of consideration is that Microsoft just can do stuff because when you have that type of money, just like when you watch, or at least when I was growing up, man, you should watch all these people with money, man, the stuff they buy, or you know the lifestyles they live and stuff like that. They do stuff, people who are millionaires and not billionaires, right? Like you see a Jeff Bezos and stuff like that. He can get a yacht that's the size of a small town floating on the water, and it doesn't bother him one bit, right? Living that type of lifestyle. You're in a different level at that point, right? I'm talking about stuff like that. So, and look, dude, look, and I'm not the kind of person, man. I don't hate on people for having money. If you guys hear me rant on my videos when it comes to money or economy and stuff like that, I'm doing it because most of the time it's affecting me, right? So as long as it's not affecting me or affecting things negatively, and by negatively I mean in a bad way, and by bad I mean not righteous, right? If you're a person that's doing things and it's hurting people just because, um, and that's a lot of the stuff that's going on right now, right? When you're paying for stuff, like for example, with everything that's going on with cost, right? We pay a certain amount here when we send our stuff overseas or to different countries, right? They pay even more of a premium, right? Because the cost is so high. Right? So what can you do to change that? That's kind of stuff, and that's another thing about me. I want to like, what's the solution to that? Like, how do you get around that, or how do you fix it? Right. First, how do you fix it? If you can't fix it, how can we get around that? I'm always going to be that way. And again, that's something that Microsoft doesn't have to worry about, being who they are, as big as they are, the amount of money they have. It's not something that they think about, right? Like for me, the other day, I went to a restaurant. I decided to treat myself. I was gonna get a piece of wagyu steak, and the cost was like $48. But I was like, okay, well, I want to taste this, and plus, like when I eat meat anymore, dude, I want to eat stuff that's a little bit more digestible. Plus, I'm always looking at the fat content, dude, especially if it's like a high quality grade meat like wagyu. At least the fat content is relayed by the fact that it's not processed and it's high quality meat and basically a whole food, right? So I'm like, okay, let me give this thing a try, and they were sold out, and I was kind of surprised, man, because I'm like, dude, $48, dude, and it's sold out. Now, supply issues aside, right? Um, but they have local stores here, man. Where I live in Hawaii and stuff like that, where they have wagyu. So I wouldn't think it'd be a problem for them to have it, and maybe it was just like an ordering thing, a supply thing. Or maybe it's like so many people buy that steak. Maybe it's that good that they buy it. Dude. And I'm like, bro, man, I really have to think about that. If I'm gonna make a purchase when I go out to eat, especially where I live, man, because high level restaurants here. We all know, man. If you go to a nice restaurant, dude, you're gonna pay some money. Right? Here where I live, dude, you're gonna pay some money plus, right? Everything is higher, right? Even by like if you live in the mainland, right, and you go to a good steak restaurant, man, we're gonna pay $50 here. That's gonna be like 70. That's just the way the economy here works. So I really got to think about that stuff, man. When you go, yeah, I've even it's interesting too because I'm kind of passing this on to my kids, and I think they'll be way better off than I am, right? Because they're doing things in their lives to better the future. Their mom and me make sure that they're on that right track. Now, there's choices aside and stuff that they decide to do or not do, whatever. That you got to factor that in. But for the most part, they're on the right track. So I expect them to be at a better level than I was when I was their age, dude. Because I was working when I was 15, dude, and it was nonstop. And the way that I viewed life and work and living, right, was just that paycheck to paycheck. I think a lot of people in my generation were like that, right? Because I am an older guy, but that's just the way it was. I got my first job at 15, and the only reason I got that job, man, is so that we could have food and we could pay rent and bills. And that's why I put such a premium on that for my kids, man, to let them know how it really is. So they're experiencing that a little bit. It's not as bad as when I was younger, man, because I was poor, man. I was broke. But and I'm not complaining, bro. It was, I don't look at those times as bad. I actually kind of enjoyed my childhood a lot, especially since my grandmother was the one who's raised me. But anyway, I try to impart that on my children now. They're getting a taste of it, dude, because they realize they just can't go out now and just buy what they want, right? Because everything's more expensive, right? I don't worry about money, right? Because once everything rises, their school costs are more, dude, food is more, transportation costs is more. They got to pay for gas and all this kind of stuff, right? So they're beginning to realize, hey, man, when stuff gets like this, dude, and your money disappears really quickly, they don't come from money, and I'm not going to be able to pass them on some kind of big inheritance or nest egg. I mean, they have some stuff set up for them and stuff like that, but not on the level. And then what happens is hopefully their kids, they'll be better off than I was, and then their kids, they'll be able to pass stuff on to them. Like that's the goal. And so hopefully, right, that they're learning that kind of thing, man. Right? Like now, when we go to GameStop, do they see how much games cost, especially where I live? They're like, whoa, you know. And they're transitioning as well, man. They're not like except for my daughter. My daughter plays, but then she's probably gonna get into the industry, right? Because she's more of a creative. My son's kind of, he's busy doing other stuff now. He's older, hanging out with his friends, going surfing. I think he went spearing the other day. Goes fishing, golf. There's a lot of outdoor things. That's what they do here in the state. And which is interesting, man, because when Microsoft releases this number and then people start talking about the industry as a whole, and I'm talking about gaming, they mention a lot of stuff, but they never mention that. I hear nobody mentioning that about kids growing out of gaming, because I'm seeing that right now with my son. Like, he used to play games a lot when he was younger. Then when he got a little bit older, he started his gaming lifestyle and patterns were dictated by his friends and socially. And I saw that with him. That's why he got a PC. And he spent hours with his friends. And because I would see him playing, and he's playing, but he's not playing. You know, like not like last night when I was trying to play Avowed and I was trying to get through this one area, man. And I'm like ultra focused on it, right, dude? Because I was getting mobbed by these guys and they're a level above me. And I was like, I don't care. I'll give it a try, man. If I die, you know, I just saved before I got into the battle. If I die, I die, right? And and I was able to get past the part, right? Which shows that, you know, I'm leveling up my character and stuff like that. So I'm right on the level where I'm just like a level or two below them. So it is what it is at the end of the day. But yeah, I think that's something that I don't know if Microsoft focuses on that, but I think that's something you need to, because people right now, dude, when it comes to gaming, again, I'm from a different time. Especially a different, and my personality fits gaming and collecting and stuff like that. This is why I love comic books, right? Very introverted when I was younger, right? But even people who are introverted now, like, to me, they're not introverted. They might not like crowds still, like how people who are introverted. They have the qualities of it, but everything is geared to them right now, not to. They don't have to worry about a lot of the stuff. Like, if you wanted to meet people, you had to go out. When I was growing up, you had to go out, dude. You couldn't talk to them on the phone, or if you did, dude, you know, like the way it was, man. It's just like, you know, get off the phone. Why are you on the? You still on the phone? Like, that's the generation I grew up in. Well, what are you talking about? Aren't you gonna see him in school tomorrow? You know, like that kind of stuff. And I think that's one of the things, man. That's why people being socially inept now is a problem. Because back then you had no choice, man. Whether you wanted to or not, dude, you have to talk to somebody face to face, and that's why you don't have a lot of drama. Back when I was growing up, you had some drama, but not like on the level they have now. You're just gonna be, dude. You're just gonna be saying stuff to people, right? I mean, you could, right? But and maybe you say something off and nobody does anything. But you know, when in my generation, dude, you say something off, dude, 10 to 1, somebody gonna punch you in the face. That's just the way it was. And look, I'm not promoting violence and bullying and stuff like that. I'm just being honest. That was the reality of it. So that was like in and of itself, dude. It was a way to check yourself. You know what I'm saying? Hold on, guys. Let me. But yeah, Avowed, man. So we can talk about Avowed. You know, I've been rambling on for over almost 20 minutes, guys. And then one of the reasons I can do this, guys, is just that if I do this stuff, I have to get up early in the morning and I do it. Um, and so it's not. It's so I have the time. I have the time to kind of ramble. Hold on, what is this? Oh, he about to send me something. Again, guys, hold on 1 second. I told my boy I'd send him a link. Uh, but yeah, so I got some time. I got off of work yesterday. It was a crazy week for me, man. So as soon as I came home, dude, I prepped some stuff for dinner in case my daughter was gonna eat. I wasn't sure she went with her mom yesterday, so I wasn't sure what she was gonna do. But I just made it's like I made rice, had some food out in case we had to cook something. But after that, dude, I went straight and played some. I played a couple hours of Avowed. Man, dude, man, Avowed was Avowed. Like, the more I played that game, the more I liked it. And again, I'm just as shocked as everybody else, dude. I didn't think I'd like the game as much, right? If I'm being honest, I just didn't think I would. And not that I had anything against the guys. It's just like, I like I said earlier, my expectations of what I would be playing this year. I've talked about it on this channel before. Man, there's a couple games I'm looking forward to playing. And Avowed, definitely, dude. Look, dude, I'm in the ecosystem, dude. I have Game Pass, dude. I look forward to every game. But naturally, like anything else, some more than others, right? Like a song, you listen to some songs more than others. Just in case, man, I'm gonna have to send it later. Hold on, let me shut this down. I am sending invites to some of the dudes in case they do want to jump in, so they don't have to ask me during the podcast. They can just jump in if they want to. And again, this isn't an all-in. This isn't a wrecking crew or an all-in podcast or something like that. It is just a chat. So if they come in, that's cool. If they don't, it's cool too. But yeah, last night I actually pushed forward. I'm in the third area of the game, and the way that about is, um, if you want to start, if you want to continue to level up your gear, man, you're gonna have to progress. I would say smartly, number one, and two, you know, there's a pattern to it in a sense, and that's one of the things I kind of don't like about it. Not in a bad way. It's not a problem, but I'm just saying, I like to do things a certain way, and I like to explore. And you can explore. I mean, I'm not saying you can't, but man, you're gonna run against characters that are, if you're in the wrong area, bro, it's gonna be hard. But I've gotten my stuff to the point now where I can hang. Like even if they're higher than me, I might die, but I can hang with them, right? And then of course use your tactics and stuff like that. And there's some really cool stuff built into the game. It's kind of unique. I'm not saying other games haven't done this, but it's definitely like Avowed is its own beast. I'll say that much, right? I rely a lot, like last night when I was going through this one area. Oh, hold on, I got a text message. Let's both videos. Oh, he bought. Let me respond to Hebot real quick. Yeah, so I've gotten and then I've gotten used to the gameplay mechanics, right? Like the battle system and stuff like that, the stuff that the computer does. And then there's times they're just gonna mob you, right? I was playing this one section, dude, and I couldn't beat it, right? Because I knew I wasn't level up, but I tried it anyway, just to get a feel of it, dude. And the way that that area was, man, they kept on. I mean, not only were they spawning a ton of enemies, which was fine, right? I have gotten used to my companions, what they can and can't do. Again, gotten used to the gameplay mechanics, and then I've leveled up, and I've got my character using stuff that I like, even if it's not the most powerful. I have two Grimoires. Well, one of them is way more powerful than the other one, but I like the other one better because it's more focused attacks, where the other ones is area of effect attacks. And the area of effect attacks are awesome. I like the way they look, man. But you gotta, dude, when things are hectic and stuff like that, and you're getting mobbed, man. I just, dude, I don't want to be like trying to play stuff, right? But luckily, I have the gnome or the dwarf. I'm not exactly sure what he is. I think he's a dwarf. And then I'll say he's a gnome because he's more of a naturalist and stuff. But anyway, so he has this one ability where he'll lay like a vines on the ground and it'll capture the enemy. And then if you level it up, there's other stuff attributes that it has. But I like that you can trap these guys and hold them in one place. Then I do an area effect, to get the maximum out of it. Because when I use this grimoire to use these spells, man, this sucks a lot of my mana, right? And that sucks. And then with the other one, I like it a little bit better because it doesn't, but it's not as powerful. But it's more conducive to the way I like to combat because I'm a battle mage. I've just kind of gone on that path. I wish, I might play the game again as just to try and keep it be as a pure mage, right? And but you have to have like at least one melee weapon, right? Especially when you start off the game, there's no way you're going to be doing spells all the time. That's just not the reality of it. Now, as you level up, you can kind of make it a little different. And I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to play the game again as a mage and just try and keep it purely mage. In the early chapters, since I know the lay of the land, where to go, what to do. I don't know if the things are randomly generated. I don't think so. But if they are randomly generated, what I'll do is I still got an idea of where the stuff is. And I'll hold off on doing certain things that I did when I played it the first time through. That's the great thing about that's one of the great things about Avowed. There is some replayability there, dude, because they have different classes. You can't do everything and be everything you want to be. At least that's my experience with the first run through. If you guys know anything better, have tips, more than happy for you to tell me. Um, because the way I like to do, man, is like I have all these grimoires, right? And I would love to level all of them up, but you can't. Or at least when I'm playing, maybe as I go on with the game, because I'm noticing that the map is actually pretty huge. I've been ultra focused on sections of the map and stuff like that. I'm in the third, what I call the third act of the game, right, where I'm in this desert area now, which is actually really cool. It's a cool area, man. I like the level design on it. It looks amazing. Again, it's just the art style, dude. And I'm not trying to, hey, look, dude, I'm not trying to harp on the artist himself, the person that caused all the drama and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, dude, his art style is not like it's okay, right? And maybe I'm being harsh, man, because I've been like watching stuff like Solo Leveling, reading more manga, and getting back into some of the more classical comic book stuff, right, from back in the day. I'm actually sharing stuff from on my ex account from Alex Ross and Jack Kirby, Jim Lee, some of the greats that understand the concept of what a character is. Like it's important, dude. When you're trying to get me, and that's probably one of the only knocks I have on about. If you're trying to get me into your world, that I have to have. This is me personally, man. Might not be for you. And again, this isn't detract from how great the game is, right? This is just my opinion. Right? But for me personally, when I'm looking at something, you have to when you build characters and stuff like that, there has to be a little bit of a uniformity to them, right? When you make them, like some of the stuff that the artist, the design doing with some of the characters just don't make sense with me, right? It's just like why is this person like, why did they look like this? Like what attributes, like like for example, right? If you have a person that has big ears, you know, the way that it's written that they have big ears, they'll probably have certain attributes that would make them that would play directly into their pattern or into their personality, into their abilities. But in this game, it's just like they have it just to have it, or to and then and one of the major things, right? They do this in all mediums, right? You do that to differentiate the characters, right? You don't want everybody looking the same. It's funny. I was watching this anime with my daughter, and that's what we talked about because the artist, man, he's a great artist. The art is nice, but his characters are hard to differentiate, right? And especially like the only way you can really tell sometimes is the personality. But even their personality is not very right. So my point being, there needs to be a balance, right? Sometimes when I'm in the world, and again, if you guys know me, you guys been on my channel, you guys know how I think. When I'm in these worlds, right, I can't have the illusion broken, right? For me, right? Like I know, what's that game? I think Unlimited has it, or I think Europe. One of the guys are gonna buy it. Assassin's Creed, um, the one in Japan, Shadows, the one in Japan, right? That's probably one of the biggest problems I have is, and why I don't really play Assassin's Creed games. I try to because I love history. I love the world that they build. As far as the way it looks and everything like that, they try and keep it historical as possible, or they used to. I don't know. I was listening to somebody and they said they stopped doing that, and I was like, well, obviously, one, but two, that's always been kind of the bread and butter. Like Battlefield, dude. Battlefield used to tout itself as a simulated military shooter, and it's no longer like that at all. But I mean, it's not as ridiculous as COD, but you know what I'm saying. So, but my main problem always been with Assassin's Creed is their focus on the Templars, right? And what they present the Templars to be. And I can't say you can't do Elseworld stuff or do intrigue and delve into it a little bit more, give a little bit of shades of gray. But just that the way things are done nowadays, dude, everything shades of gray, right? And that's probably the only problem I have with about. Everything else, dude, I understand it's from it's the game that they wanted to make, and hey, that's you make the game that you want to make. If I like it, I'll come along for the journey. If I don't like it, then I won't. And not every game has to be 100% everything I like, dude. That's one of the problems I'm having now, and I know I've done a really bad job of trying to explain that in my videos, but that's what it really boils down to for me, man. It's just you know um, with a lot of the people when for like in the case of Avowed, dude, and I'll get into this right now, man, because I want to keep it 100 with you guys. I played enough of Avowed to see, um, and this is diving into the woke stuff. There is some woke stuff in Avowed. I played it a little bit more. What you have to determine is if you're a person that doesn't like woke stuff, dude, I'd have to it would have to be like gauged to the meter. Um, like what your woke meter is, like what you can stand and what you can't stand. It's not over. I, in my opinion, it's not overarching, right? It's not there trying to preach to you, right? It's like when I look at some of the stuff that's in there, it's a decision on the creative level that that person wanted to um, show in this game, right? I've always told you guys again, right? On multiple levels when it comes to stuff that's woke, right? It was just oversaturated in this industry, and not just this industry, but a lot of industries, but especially in pop culture. Um, because if you look at what they were trying to accomplish with that, they're basically preaching to people, right, when it comes to this stuff. Right? And they were using pop culture because pop culture in and of itself has always been welcoming. It's never been about diversity and stuff like that because people who participated in pop culture either did it for the maybe they like the art, maybe they like the stories, maybe they like the communities because the communities tend to be a little bit open. At least when I was coming up, especially, dude, it didn't matter who you were, where you're from. If you like the things that you like, you would always get stuck in this category. I know Hebot talks about this as well. We're around the same age and stuff like that. But if you were doing stuff like this back then, dude, you were just ostracized. So already when you come into nerd stuff, when you come into pop culture, dude, you already have a built-in like you have a built-in understanding. Number one, and you have something that you can glom to, right? Something that you can coalesce around. And that one thing trumped everything else, dude, because it didn't matter where you were from or how you were, right, or stuff like that. It's because at the end of the day, man, you guys were all put in the same boat, right? When it came to video games, comic books, all of that stuff, dude. That's why it's kind of funny to me to look now at how accepted it is, and to a fault, if I might add. But um, yeah. But my point being is like for that type of thing, right? That's how it's always been. It's always the way it's been. And then you have, to me, right now, you have people trying to come into pop culture and trying to make it include, well, not inclusive, but exclusive. And I've done videos about this, guys, on my channel, man. Um, you can't force people to do things, right, that they don't want to do, or you can't force people to play the way that they want to play, or read the stuff that they want to read, or enjoy the world that, and even though it's yours, man, and you have a right to that, right? And I would even go so far as like there's this one guy, his indie game came out on ID and Xbox, dude. And I know the background on this dude, his company, and the stuff he talks about, bro. And it's bad. But at the end of the day, dude, he owns up to it. He believes it. He's gonna live it. He doesn't care, right? Um, if his game, I've seen commentary on this dude. I'm not gonna say the game. And then this dude wears this stuff on his sleeve that you'll figure it out really quickly if you're sensitive to this kind of stuff, man. But he's basically telling people, don't buy my game, don't do this. I make the game that I want to make, and I have my principles and my morals and all this kind of stuff. Probably will affect his bottom line, but respect, right? Respect with all that, dude. This is why he's probably an indie developer, right? And this is the game he wants to make, and this is the opinions that he wants to have because he's very open about his opinions online. Where nowadays, right, if you're gonna work for somebody like Microsoft or work for a big corporation, man, you gotta check that stuff. Anyway around, man, they're getting back to what they do, which is just provide services and make products, right? And at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. That's what I tell a lot of people at work where I'm at. It's like, dude, keep your head down, do your job, right? That's the best advice I can give you, right? Especially now in these tumultuous times, right? When it comes to people getting laid off, people getting fired, all that kind of stuff. Dude, business is closing down, right? People showing up for work, doors locked. You know what I mean? So, you know, I respect that. I respect that dude's doing that, right? And so, right, if you're gonna do that, then fine. No harm, no foul. I don't have to participate in it if I'm against what you believe in, stuff like that. And that takes me back to Avowed, right? There's stuff in Avowed. Now I'm finally coming across it because I put some time in, right? And again, give him credit. It is not the underlying or underlying thing about the game, right? It's just something that's in there, and if it bothers you, I mean, for me personally, it does. Yeah, it bothers me, right? Because it's something that I don't agree with, a lifestyle I don't agree with, and stuff like that. Does it take away from other parts of the game? No. And then in the way that About is, you don't have to participate. You can kind of go around it if you want to. Um, uh, but it's not something that they're shoving in my face. Now, I don't know, though, dude. I'm not. Maybe I'm 30% into the game because I'm taking my time and enjoying it. And I'm playing the game that I want to play and stuff like that. So I don't know later on if I'll come across other things. I don't know if this is one of the reasons why Avowed got delayed. right? And again, we'll talk about Fable in a bit, but this right now, dude, this is not the soup du jour, man. This is not the main course on the menu, right? People are hyper focused on this stuff, and they're focusing on it. And for me, man, personally, dude, I think that's a good thing, right? Because if this stuff didn't get checked, dude, it was getting out of control, right? And the ramifications of it still last to this day, man, because there's a lot of people, um, color, race, religion, all that stuff aside, dude, just a lot of people working in industries that are not talented enough to be there, right? And I know that seems harsh, but that's just the reality of it. At the end of the day, when you're working in a creative atmosphere, man, you're being judged all the time on your creativity, on your ability, on the product that you produce, man, all of that, dude. And that's something that amazes me because that's the way it's been in the industry for years, man. There's stories upon stories, man, about in interviews that I've read and in interviews that I've seen online or on TV from back in the day, man, where a lot of these creators are talking about some of the greatest minds, some of the greatest storytellers, some of the greatest writers of our time, right? Some of the greatest pop culture influences, man, talk about stuff like how it was when they're coming up, dude. And society changes and society has gotten better in some aspects of that, dude. You don't want people being bullied or picked on. You want people to have a chance, right? But that's kind of giving way to people not being honest with other people and just people not being honest with each other and just saying, look, bro, you're just not good enough. You're just not good enough to produce this stuff. I'm not saying that you crap on their dreams and maybe they can find another avenue, right? But I'm gonna get on my Marvel hate train right now, but it's just like there's a lot of people working there that just don't need to be working there, right? Or making these decisions, or making creative choices, or creating content that shouldn't be on that level. You're handing like millions upon millions of dollars to these people to produce stuff that's just absolute trash. I'm just gonna be honest with you, right? And one of the red flags I had when Marvel started growing and getting bigger and got over that hump, right? That, for being having a modicum of success, right? That maybe they can build on, right? Once the red flag that kept on coming up to me was like, oh well, they'll be hiring people that, oh, I never read comic books, I never did this, I never did that. I'm anti. You see these people getting interviewed, man. That was a big red flag for me. I'm like, well, you kind of have to know a little bit about the world, because of the audience, right? That supports the content that you're going to be creating, right? On top of just the mutual respect for the consumer and the comic book consumer, the people that actually go and watch your movies and buy all your merchandise. And that's why, again, Disney, Marvel, and just Disney in general has been taking big hits, right? Because they betrayed their fan base, man. It's not just about getting the general population to go watch it. That is great. That's how you're gonna make those big bucks, right? But you also got to be cognizant of the fact that, especially businesses like Marvel, Disney, or even if you go with DC, all of them, dude. A lot of their stuff comes from the merchandising, man. We talked about this with Star Wars, dude. Star Wars that's their big draw, is their merchandising, right? And none of this stuff is selling, man, because it's not Star Warsy, As you see some of the characters and stuff like that, they just look like people in cosplay, right? And then there's no connection to the characters because they don't write good characters, man. They don't write. Even if it's a character, that's the thing that blows me away, man. Because some people are like, well, I want people to like this character. No, dude, you don't have to. Some of the best characters that's ever been created are characters that people hate. In fact, if you go back and look at the history of cinema in and of itself, dude, or even comic books, man, look at Loki, dude. Loki as a character, the way that they created him, he's not as evil and over the top as he is in the comic book, but he is a bad guy that people shouldn't like, right? And they gave him those type of qualities, man. But there's people out there that love that stuff. Look, the Darth Vader, dude. I always thought, I'm not saying that I like Darth Vader, but just Darth Vader was just this kind of cool character, as a villain, right? And then when Episode 3, probably the best of episodes 1 and 2 was Episode 3, but when they showed what he did to the younglings, then I kind of changed my perspective on him. I was like, oh yeah, this dude is super evil. He has a history of being evil, right? But of course, in the first 4, 5, and 6, when he's around choking people, I mean, who doesn't want that ability, right? But that's a problem with a lot of the people that make content now, and it's sad because it's affecting the content that they make. And at the end of the day, some of these people just need to read books, need to know what the hero story is, right? Because you need a foundation, man. Now you can, after you lay that foundation and you understand it, then you can do whatever you want to, and then let society judge it, man. Let the people judge it. Let your audience judge it, right? Because the way things work in the real world, man, you're not gonna have everybody has different opinions. Just like I'm talking about Assassin's Creed, getting back to that. With Assassin's Creed Shadows, dude, I can't. I can't hang with that, man, because the whole theory of it based on what the Templars are and aren't. Like you can do stories like that, and then dabble in the shades of gray and stuff like that. But I've seen enough interviews of the people who make these games that they're very anti-Christian. If I'm being 100% honest, like if it were a person like me, I'm like, nah, dude, I'm not gonna roll like that. Because number one, you're being dishonest, dude. There's a lot of stuff that happens with Christianity that people like to point out as bad, but nobody points out all the positive stuff about it, right? And in our history, and when I mean in our history, it's in Western civilization, especially, right? So already that's a no go for me. But there's some of the guys that are going to get the game and try and enjoy it, right? I don't know how well it's going to do. I'll be honest with you. I mean, you even have people in Japan not happy about what they're doing. Which the irony of it all, right? Because we consume so much of their content. Like I do, I definitely do. Like I'm watching one of the my favorite animes right now is Solo Leveling. I talk about it all the time on the channel, and it cracks me up because it's Solo Leveling, but it's also based on a Korean manga, right? And that they converted into Japanese. So I guess my point being is that cross pollination, right? So you would think um, that this stuff would be okay, but there's always shades of gray, man. Just look at it. See, look, dude. If it works for you, it's your money, it's your time. You buy it. I know for me, it's always a hard sell for Assassin's Creed, just because I'm starting off on ground zero with a lot of the stuff that's what the series is based on, right? Now you throw into the mix of all the stuff going on with Japan, right? And it's being politicized on both sides, or I would say both sides, not politics, but on every angle, it's being politicized. Right? And not politicized politics Washington, but just politicized within the gaming, the politics that we have in gaming, the politics of gaming, right? Where people are talking about what they want and stuff like that. So, but at the end of the day, dude, look, dude, if you want to know about something or you want to experience it, you have to take chances, right? Like for Avowed, I heard some stuff about it, but I have Game Pass, right? And it dropped in Game Pass, and I'm playing it, and I've enjoyed it. The stuff that I've discovered recently probably prevent me from buying the game, right? Because I don't support that type of ideology, right? But at the end of the day, dude, it's not it's getting back to good. I'll put it to you that way, dude. We're getting back to good, dude. We're getting back to a point where um, it's not over there trying to indoctrinate me, right? And that's what people are trying to say, dude. And it's look, everybody has an opinion, and there's people with bigger microphones than others when it comes to this kind of stuff, right? But at the end of the day, dude, for me personally, I'm like, yeah, I don't agree with that. I don't support that. I know you guys support it. It's part of your mission statements and stuff like that. I don't believe in that, so I can't support your product. That's the way I roll, right? And technically, I am kind of supporting their product, right? Because I have Game Pass. But then I'm like Game Pass, but I'm like, look, dude, I'm not. I can't buy your game. Dude, that's just right. And the way that it is, right? And the one thing I don't like about it is because they wait. So the way it would be, right, is like me. I was talking about the game, but I'm not talking about it in terms of some of the stuff now that I've discovered. Right, and like I said, I'll keep it 100 on this channel, dude. That's something that I don't agree with personally. And the older I've gotten, the more I've stood firm on that. It's about lifestyle choices, right? And I'm not down with that anyway at all, dude. I mean, you got me to play your game. It's a great game. I'll be fair, right? There's a lot of stuff aside from this that one or two things that I don't like about it, right? So far, look, I'm not even finished with the game, right? But definitely now, I wouldn't buy it, dude. I wouldn't. Me personally. Now, if that stuff doesn't bother you, then that's on you. Right? But like I said, dude, I'm a pro Xbox channel. I try and keep it as direct as possible, man, and being honest with you guys as possible. But other than that, dude, everything about the game is solid. Just like I see people review the game or talk about the game, I don't think, already I talked to you guys about the art design. When it comes to Avowed, dude, not even anywhere in the realm of what they're talking about. Like these people are talking, droning on about the graphics, dude. It's one of the most beautiful games I've seen. More at least modern games for the type of studio that is and the money that they put into it. Yeah, dude, it's impressive. Just the other day, man, I was by this waterfall and I was just looking out at the waterfall. I was like, wow, man, that's beautiful. And then I was in this area in the desert, man. Because it's a desert, dude. They have a lot of brackish water, right? Which I thought was pretty cool. Right? And you can see the different color levels and the different uses of the color palette, right? To kind of accentuate the landscape and stuff like that. But a lot of these teams, and Obsidian's used to be a smaller studios that I know they've grown, and it shows in their in what they're producing, guys. like a lot of times when you hear people talk about money being spent and teams growing and all this kind of stuff, dude, you guys got to keep in mind that it's specific to what they're creating, right? So it's not just about them throwing money at something, dude. It's how are they using that money? How are they organizing it? How does it make them better? How does it make their team better? How does it help the team as a whole? Right. That's how Microsoft is coming, or at least the Xbox hierarchy is looking at it. Right. Phil talks about this all the time. That's why you have to listen, watch the stuff that he's in, even though he's on programs I don't like. But to get it straight from the horse's mouth, right? To understand what they're trying to accomplish there. And for me, dude, I'm looking at Obsidian, dude. I don't expect it to be like a Final Fantasy. You have people coming up there saying it's not like Skyrim, dude. I'm like, bro, what are you guys even talking about? I understand the comparison to Skyrim because the type of game it is, man, but it's not meant to be Skyrim, dude. It's meant to be its own game. And if you play the game, you would understand that because they do stuff in that they do stuff in there. As a person who's played RPGs and I like to play RPGs a certain way, they don't do that. They don't follow that formula. There's some stuff to do that's very similar to standard RPG, especially in first person perspective, but other than for the most part, no, they're trying to create their own thing, man, and that's what I thought everybody wanted. Again, this is just the gaming community just saying stuff to say stuff, right? Because unless you try stuff that's different, man, of course you're not gonna like everything, dude. That's a given, dude. I've been doing this for a long time, man. I've been playing games my entire life, right? And that's just the process of it, man. There's some stuff that you're gonna love. There's some stuff you're gonna hate. Again, I'll mention this. I say this on the channel all the time. If I listened to critics, I never would have watched the majority of the stuff that I like. I would have never watched it. The movies or the music I listen to, the movies I've watched, and the games that I play. Most of the stuff that I like, dude, is not inside the norm. Like in the case of Avowed, right? They have some stuff that's traditionally classical first person RPG style things, right? Because of the type of genre it is, the game it is, right? But at the end of the day, man, you play that game, dude. They try and take some risk and they try to do outside the box stuff, right? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. For the most part, I don't have a problem with it. Some people will, I can tell. Right, like for me, again, like I said earlier, man, the leveling up and stuff like that. I'm used to grinding, going back through levels, leveling up. Like that's what I would be doing with Avowed, if I'm being honest. Right, what is that? I'll be trying to level up, right? Because I want to keep because I have all these grimoires and I want to use every single one of them. Like you can use them, I can equip them and stuff like that. But then now I want to build them up, but it takes certain materials to level this stuff up, and I haven't got maybe because I haven't got the economy down and stuff like that, but I don't, normally I would do is I just go and just keep on playing until, I level up, and then I can increase this stuff. Or I would, in some of these games, you could farm stuff. And that's not the case with About. They want you to stay on a certain track and then move forward. And that's what I'm doing right now. Guys, hold on one second. I got to go check something. Sorry about this. Oh, sorry about the dead air, guys. Thought I heard something tripping. Then my house is at that age where I get paranoid when I hear certain things, so I go check it out. It's a great thing about having other people that are here with me on the podcast. That the guys joke about it all the time, but it's 100% true, man. And the way that it is, dude, my house is small, so I'll mute my mic and I'm still listening, right? Um, and then it never fails, especially with Hebot, dude. I'll mute the mic, I'm listening, but I step away because like maybe the rice is finished and I gotta go put it in a bowl and stuff like that, right? Or pull something out, and then he'll be like, then he'll ask me a question, and I'll be like, oh man, dude, seriously. So sorry about that, but yeah, just wanted to make sure, man. I heard it sounded like water, dude. I want to make sure that the toilet wasn't running, man, because I came home the other day, man, and it was running. And I was like, oh, dude, what's this? I hope it wasn't running all day, dude. Look, dude, that's the economic situation we in right now, dude. It's just like that's like an extra $20 on the water bill, man. Can't afford that, right? Because everything's getting up there. But anyway, yeah. So about look, dude. At the end of the day, I just wanted to give my thoughts on that. Great game, good fun, great level design. Um, I love the combat system. Now that I've gotten used to it, and now that I've leveled up, but yeah, there's a certain way that you got to play the game. I get that, right? And that's why I die sometimes because I refuse to do it. Like I told you, I'm using Grimoire of Elements, and I think it's a Greater Elements. No, Greater Elements is the other one. That's more area of area of effect spells. So the interesting thing is that I discovered as I played this game that you can actually hyper focus on the elements themselves, which would negate the fact of having the grimoire. But if you have the but one of the cool things they did, because they'll pin everything to the wheel, your left bumper, and so you can, and I love that, dude. It's actually great, man. So this one time, dude, I have a lightning effect. I was using my grimoire of elementals of greater effect, and then on that one, I have an area of effect spell for lightning, right? And it's pretty powerful, dude. It's a level, what was it, level 5? It's a level 5 spell. And so I dropped it on it, and then I pulled out my wheel because I was going to call, oh boy, uh, or not, I'm using the girl now, but I was going to see like if she put up shields and stuff like that. And when I pulled it, man, I noticed that I had my lightning effect from from the other grimoire that I have that I like to use because it's just a direct shot. And then I realized that I put a point in that, right? Because I wanted to level it up because I use it a lot. Because what it does, dude, is when you shock people, and if they're in a group, dude, it'll bounce to other enemies, man, and it helps your team. Like if you're getting if you're getting run over, like like the game will just send a bunch of people at you. So and it's a mixture, man. Like heavy enemies, lighter enemies, right? They throw it all at you to throw you off. And so I like using this effect because the lightning will shock all of everybody in that area, and then it gives you time to kind of if you need to take like a health potion or like a mana potion, or if you want to kind of regroup with your companions and stuff like that. It gives me that ability, it gives me that time. Man. I'm not as old, look, dude, I'm not as, like I said earlier, I'm not as young as I used to be, dude. So I'm a little bit slower on the trigger than I used to. Um, but it's a cool thing to have. But when I realized I put a point in it, then when went back and looked at it, it said, "Oh, because I'm using a grimoire, you're actually going to have greater effect." So I was happy about that. So that's what I'm going to do because I like those type of attacks. I like the more direct attacks than I do the aerial effect. And the aerial effect is actually pretty cool, guys, right? But it's just that when I'm playing, I'm kind of a battle mage, so I'm moving at the same time, and it's just the combat system, dude. Like they'll hyper focus on you, dude, which is irritating. I understand why they do it, dude. I'm not saying it's bad, but I personally don't like it because I like to use since I have like and the NPCs I know, but like since I have other people there and I'm a mage man, I like to use my other people. Right, like for example, dude, I'll call in my boy, and then he'll light these people up, and they tend to focus on him. But then a couple times you play, man, there's just like the whole crowd, and none of my guys are down. In fact, I was playing in one part last night, and it looks like my crew, somebody got stuck someplace, or I just didn't see him at all, and he wasn't down, right? Because I was looking. And meanwhile, you're doing this, dude. I'm getting attacked by 4 or 5 guys. On top of the fact that like a spellcaster jumped in, right, and he kept on healing these dudes, right? So that makes it really hard. And by the way, I'm level 3, and these characters are level 4, so that doesn't help either. All of this stuff's going on. I actually died in that one, right? Because everybody was level 4. Um, so I'm already starting off at a disadvantage. But I could have won it, dude. But I was like, I don't know what happened to my dude. Like it seems like he fell off the screen, or maybe he was stuck someplace, right? But once you guys are down, dude, I mean, then they'll super hyper focus on you. I mean, oddly enough, dude, I've only been playing it for a couple of weeks, and I'm discovering stuff every day that I play it. But Avowed is a great game, guys. But I have to, like I said, on this channel, I got to keep it 100 with you guys, man. There is some like people call it woke stuff and stuff like that. Yeah, if you want to use that terminology, fine. But there's definitely some things in there like I have a problem with. You guys might not, but like I said, when I'm playing the game, I didn't see anything of it. But now that I progress in the game, it looks like what happens as the game continues, that you might find some stuff. Right now, is it in your face, overarching? No, but it's something that I don't support. Right, so definitely that's my own measurement of how I do this kind of stuff. Because again, at the end of the day, guys, if you have to take risks and chances if you're a gamer, right? And no harm, no foul, man. If you don't like it, just step away, dude. That's what I would do. If it bothered me that much, I would. And but I understand some people are hypersensitive to this stuff. But again, the way things are going, man, the pendulum shift was on one side when these guys were trying to stuff this crap down your throat. That's why I was so anti woke and anti all this stuff that they were doing, man. Because I'm like, no, dude, you don't tell me what to do. You don't tell me how to spend my money. You don't tell me how I'm going to play my games. You're not going to tell me anything of how to live my life. Right, especially the type of people they are. Man, I was like, morally, you guys are trying to be the moral arbiters of what is and what is good in society, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. You can miss me with all that kind of stuff, right? You stay over there on your side of the thing, and now that stuff now is shifted to the other side. And I'm not one of these dudes, man. Look, it shifted to the other side because of what happened earlier, dude. That's just the cause and effect, man. I'm not one of these dudes that sit here, well, they're just as bad as the people on the left side or the people that's promoting this stuff. No, they're not. Because at the end of the day, those guys that you don't like, you can just ignore them, right? With the people that on the other side, when this stuff all kicked off, dude, they wouldn't let you ignore them. Dude. Get in your face, get into business, come in your spaces, right? Tell you, call you names, label you, all this kind of stuff. Luckily for me, I don't care. I'm from a generation that doesn't have time. I really don't. You're like, oh, I'm gonna have to cancel your channel. Well, I hate to tell you this, man, but my channel's small. Right? Nobody really watches me, so good luck with that. If YouTube came in bad me, I wouldn't care. I just go do something else, right? And that's why you've seen a lot of the stuff politically, right? A lot of the stuff that's going on right now is being influenced by Gen X, right? The forgotten generation. And even I don't even like saying that because I don't really care about that label. It doesn't define who I am, but that's just the way it is. That's how people are looking at it right now. And then our generation, I'll say this much, right? We don't care, right? Because you'd have a lot of different people, right? In Gen X, you had punk rockers, you had alternatives, you had people that did whatever they like to do, nerds like myself, right? And then people just looked at, you'd have maybe like, like I said earlier, people talking. And then when I'm saying that kind of stuff, dude, it was usually adults back then that was telling you that, or your parents and stuff like that would pick on you. And then you had social classes back then, dude, but it made us who we are, right? And at the end of the day, we just didn't care. We just did what we wanted to do because that's all you could do, right? Some aspects, man, because they were your parents, you had to listen to them. And other parts, that was society, dude. You just had to live it. I think that's one of the problems of society today, because everybody wants their cake and eat it too. That's not how life works. But for me personally, dude, no, I'm not on that spectrum where I'm sitting there going, these people are just as bad. No, dude, this is cause and effect, dude. You guys were a certain way, right? And you push the industry or things that people loved in that direction. Now you got to pay for it, right? It's your medicine, man, and you got to take it. Are there people that are grifters that are trying to capitalize on it? Sure, right. But if you know that, dude, then just ignore them. That's all you have to do, man. But at the end of the day, dude, what they're trying to they're dude. At the end of the day, social engineering 101. These guys want to change the fabric of society, and they're taking every opportunity with every spectrum, wherever they could to do that. Right, trying to force down, like these dudes trying to sit there and tell me, no, dude, this is fine, dude. This is the future. This is what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be open minded. Like, no, dude, no. Miss me with that. And then look, to your credit, I'm gonna call. I'm older, man. My generation's older. We will die, and then you guys can take over, right? But I highly suggest you guys look at some societal collapses and see how these things tend to go. There needs to be a foundation. There needs to be traditionalism. There's some stuff that look, dude, when you make a cake, dude, there's some basics that you got to go with, right? Then you can add your little stuff in it afterwards, man. And that's interesting. That's the spice of life, as they call it, when I was growing up, or the variety that you get in this kind of things comes from that. But there needs to be foundational stuff, right? Especially in a creative aspect, dude. Nail the foundational. Understand what the industry is. Understand where whatever genre you're participating in. Understand the foundation and the background and the history a little bit, and then you build on it. Because then it'll be, there's a new generation of people coming up, man. That's why you see these companies scrambling, right, all over the place to try. It's sad actually, right? Like trying to identify with these people, and the reason why it's sad because a lot of people that work in these industries are older too, right? And so they're trying to figure out what the younger generation want, and they were young once, so they should know what the younger generation doesn't want is like some old people telling them what to do. If there's one thing that's gone through every generation, that's the one constant that you see, especially over the last 100 years in this country, right? That's been recurring theme, so to speak, nonstop recurring theme, so to speak, of society, especially especially in this country, in the U.S. Right? And it amazes me that people don't understand that. They don't get it. You saw that in I mean, that's why they call my generation the forgotten generation, because we just got ignored. But that's why you hear people talking about boomers all the time, right? But I know people have kind of shifted to Gen X a little bit. But it's funny to me that like for the longest time nobody really mentioned us, right? It's just like boomers and then millennials and then now Gen Z, right? Anyway, but the one constant is like nobody wants wants to be told what to do by the other generation. That's just always been a constant, right? And then the older generation should realize that, let it go, because it's just like our parents with their kids. Like, I'm gonna tell my kids something and they look at me a certain way, and I'll be like, "Well, shit, don't." But I'm just using it as an example. Right? Well, I mean, one time my daughter got a little bit mouthy with me, pissed me off. And then I just looked at her and I'm like, yeah. And I told her straight up, I was like, one day you're going to have a kid and you're going to do the same thing to you. Right? That's why the joy of grandparents have with their kids. Right? Anyway, because it's different when it's your own. But yeah, so just, if you have Game Pass, you owe it to yourself to play about. Right. And then and just to decide for yourself, man, because there's stuff that might bother me that might not bother you. There's stuff that I like that you guys might hate, is my point. But you won't know unless you play the game. Right? This is why the industry is struggling now, because people are listening to other people, and I don't know why you would do that. Right? I would never do that. Like to me, when I see people doing it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I mean, because you like him? I mean, maybe like for me, like even if I agree with a person, like say for example, I share a lot of content from Neurotic. And he has a great channel, man. Go check him out. And the reason why I listen to him, because I can tell that a lot of the stuff he's into, the things he thinks about, some of the belief systems, as far as pop culture is concerned, I'm in tune with him, right, the majority of the time. So based on that, I can listen to him, right? But a lot of the times, like if he's telling me about a movie that he didn't like or why he didn't like it or the problems with the movie, I already knew about it. I'm just listening to him because I like his commentary on it, right? And that's one of he reminds me of the typical comic book shop owner, dude. That I actually go into my local comic book shop, dude, and talk to the dude. And sometimes you don't even go there to buy comic books, man. You're just there talking to them about comic books, artists, the industry, everything, right? So that's why I respect the guy, because I know he has that pedigree when I listen to him on a thing. But for the most part, man, I make up my own mind on stuff. Right? There's a lot of the guys that I follow, pop culture channels, that won't play about because of seeing what the guy did, the art director, and then with Microsoft and their policies for open what do you call it? Their social policies and stuff like that, which I don't agree with either. Right. But again, one of the reasons I'm there at a problem with Microsoft is I've been able to voice those opinions like I'm doing now, and they've never. I'm not saying I'm a big channel that they would, but I'm just saying, I've never seen them like anybody. They do that too, right? At least from my point of view, the only time I've seen them ban people is like it's something that goes against their terms and services. And look, if you're gonna play on their stuff, you gotta obey by the person, especially when you sign off on it or they have it right there. Like I know what I'm getting into when I deal with Microsoft and their products, dude. And if it bothers me, dude, I'll just bounce. And that's something of like my generation. I know that a lot of generation, like for some reason, especially the millennial markets, man, these guys want to not only do they not like it and that they're gonna leave it, but they gotta tell you about it. And I come from a generation who was just like, oh yeah, what? Oh yeah, is that what you? Oh yeah, really? Okay, yeah, okay, bye. And then we just walk away. That's what I would do. And that's what I do now. Again, Assassin's Creed Shadows coming up. For a myriad of reasons, I won't get the game. I'll watch Unlimited play the game, see what it's all about. Especially since a lot of it's politically charged. Right. But I have Valhalla just because I like Viking and stuff like that. I haven't gotten around to playing it yet. I'll try that game. I did like the one when they had the colonies when they came to America in that timeline. But again, I have to suspend disbelief in the fact that these are Templars, right? They're trying to create this world and this fabric of the world that I just can't get into because I just know too much about the history of Templars, right? Like what they've done, what they haven't done, how they exist now, and it's not even the same thing. Right? This goes all the way back to the Crusades and the First Church, and none of that is what it is. It's a history, and people looking at that history, but it's not the same. It's not the same, dude. Right? And again, the main problem I have with it is like the Templars have done a lot of the Templars did a lot of the stuff. The Templars, it's just like colonization, right? When people talk to me about colonization, I find it awkward because they'll usually be doing a podcast or on somebody's podcast and they talk about colonization, and I'm sitting here going, dude, you're participating in it right now. You're using technology at the colonizers, right? It's like we're so far removed from that event. Like even where I live in Hawaii, dude, it's like that. We're so far removed from it now. Is there still birth pains? Is there still, I don't say birth pains, but is there still the cause and effect that you see from that stuff? Definitely. Right? But everybody hyper focuses on the bad, but nobody hyper focuses on the good. Or the reality of it all is people focus on the bad, and they have a way about it, but they won't change, right? Because they've been westernized. I'm just being honest, dude. Most of us have been westernized already. Yeah. So it would be impossible for most people to go back. In fact, the only people I see doing this, dude, if I'm being honest, dude, is people mostly mainly of the Caucasian persuasion, right? That's why I love watching these videos, man. When they go primitive, what is it, primitive engineering? Where this dude goes, I don't think that's the name, but I just try to make a point. But this dude goes, man, and he makes stuff out of like clay, dude. He'll go out in the forest, man. It's usually around, and look, dude, it's just like a video game, dude. Like anytime you play a sim game where you're in the past and you got to build up a civilization, dude, it needs to be resources. So that kind of lays the foundation of where the game's going to be. Like there's normally a river there, right? Because you need to use the river. There's materials you get from the river. There's woods, right? You're just not going to be in some open barren land, dude. You'll be in trouble. And I watched this dude, man. This guy will create like a home out of mud. He's making like fire, dude. He makes like a kiln, dude, and he starts shaping stuff and basically forging things. It's amazing. I watch this. It's usually, I just said, it's usually a Caucasian liberal, right? That's doing this kind of stuff. And respect, dude. Dude, I really don't have problems with liberals, especially the traditional, right? Because I mean, they live the lifestyle, dude, and they usually classical liberals will respect your choices. Right, they'd have opinions on it. They let you know what your opinions on it, dude. I worked with this dude, man. He's a classical liberal, cool guy, man. Because he had some great stories. Because he just didn't talk about it, dude. He lived it, man. He was out there, dude. He was at Woodstock, dude. He was telling me all the stuff, dude. And surprisingly enough, not all hippies do drugs. In fact, he's anti-drug, right? Because he's anti-drug, man. Because most drugs are pharmaceuticals grade, right? And they're created, dude. He's a complete naturalist, dude. He was telling me all about flowers you can use and that's what he would do, man. He would travel in his van, like live this bohemian nomadic lifestyle, dude. And then what he would provide as goods and services is his abilities and his skill. It was amazing. He told me so many stories that I was like, it changed my mind on a lot of stuff, dude. Right? But he's like one in a million now, dude. Everybody who claims to be liberal and stuff like that, or even in some aspects conservative, dude. These people claim to be a certain way, they're not. Like everybody talks about Trump and how he's conservative. Like, dude, he's not conservative at all, bro. I mean, he has conservative leanings, but he also has liberal leanings, right? Does that make him a liberal? No, he's a populist at the end of the day. But oh, what's up, David? My bad, bro. I'm sorry. I hope I didn't miss this comment. It just popped up, I think. I hope some of the March 2025 predictions about current world aren't true. Oh, like what, David? I mean, let me know. What are you talking about? You talking about gaming or actually current events? I hope some of the March 2025 predictions. Or are you talking about like some of the predictions you see online? Yeah, there's some crazy ones out there. I mean, it's funny. I was watching this. There's this dude that. Oh my gosh, Duck Dynasty, right? And the patriarch of the family has health problems, stuff like that. But he has a podcast, and his son's on there now. And his son's going on the road of fallen angels and stuff like that. And it's amazing to watch. And it's amazing to me, right? Because if you read the Bible, you grew up in church and you read the Old Testament, this is giving a different perspective on what the pre-flood world could be, and what people are doing is they're looking at it from that perspective, very biblical based, right? And they'll tell you from the beginning, look, dude, this is stuff we're looking at. We don't know. It's not in the Bible, right? We're just kind of surmising, but they're trying to be biblically based about it and trying to give it to the utmost of keeping that in mind because a lot of these guys I trust them, dude. They have their bona fides in theology and scripture, especially. So they try and they move forward with that kind of mindset. That's how I can watch it, but they gave me a different perspective on things. But I saw this one guy talking about that, and especially the pre-diluvian stuff, which is the pre-flood stuff, and why, when you go to Bible school, or even if you go to Sunday school and you talk about the flood, why God did what He did, right? Because the world was bad. And what these guys are doing is like, okay, how bad was it? And normally, like especially when I was younger, I probably wouldn't even pay any attention to that. But one of the things it's not rewriting anything. It's talking about like it's giving a different type of perspective and a different angle, right, to what you think is bad. Like it's not rewriting that. That's not saying that the flood didn't happen, that it happened this way, that God is this, like how other people try have done for years, and that's an automatic shut off. But what they're saying is, why and how bad was it, and that's the perspective they're cutting through. And this is where the whole thing with the fallen angels come in, the Council of the Watchers, and all this kind of stuff. You have to be careful with that kind of stuff. I find it fascinating, and it's interesting to me because what I'd always done was like, this is why I would read my Bible and keep that in a separate box, and then I would actually focus on the science fiction and the comic. That's why I like science fiction and comic books, because you can't let your imaginations run wild in that aspect. That's probably why I was a nerd anyway. So I'll keep the two separate. The interesting thing to me now is because I have a background in the science fiction and the comic book and stuff like that, that my mind's a little bit more open to what they're discovering now. Again, everything biblically based, right? And they'll tell you from the jump, right? Like, for example, a lot of people are referencing Book of Enoch now, which is not canon, right? But still, it's something out there for you to look at. And one of the reasons why it's not, and people complain about that, but no, dude, it's not. None of this stuff is documented, right? I'm not saying that you can't read it or but just be careful when you do, number one. And number two, you don't want people going off the rails. People have a hard time as Christians wrapping their mind around the basic stuff, right? That's biblically based. Like something like the gospel, right? So those should be your focuses, right? Because because you're gonna struggle. That's what people don't understand about Christianity. You struggle a lot, right? Because Christianity, when you become a Christian, dude, it's actually anti what you are. As a person that's a non-believer, because you're a non-believer before you become a Christian, right? And you gotta fight against your very fabric, especially if you have issues, right? Like you see, it could be something as serious as drugs, could be something as I mean, it's all sin at the end of the day. But I'm saying, like somebody could be struggling with drugs, or somebody could be struggling with lying or keeping, stop not swearing, stuff like that. It runs a gamut. And all of that stuff is that it's the battle of self, right? That's why you should the main thing you focus on is your relationship with God, and then struggling to control yourself and bring yourself under submission to God. Yeah, there's some predictions about world events in 2025 that get people all riled up. Like what, David? Like I'm politically charged on this channel, dude. Like one of the big things I'm looking at right now is people want Fort Knox to be audited. So that's the big thing. And then the whole thing with the Epstein files, where people are actually losing their mind. Oh, here we go, David. Thank you. For example, black holes sucking up universes. That's science fiction. We did a video, David, about quantum. A quantum chip at Microsoft. As I'm a pro Xbox channel. Microsoft is the owner of Xbox. That's their brand. And I was absolutely fascinated by the quantum chip that they created because of the way that they created it and their thought process in the creation of the quantum chip. Because IBM has one, Google has one. Everybody's going into quantum computing now, right? And so they're taking different approaches. So I'm sucking it all up right now. That's one of the reasons why I haven't been able to do certain videos on my channel, because there's so many stuff to absorb. That's why I don't have cable. That's why I wanted to talk about sports stuff, but I don't have cable because I can't watch games because I don't have cable, and then I don't really need cable because I spend a lot of time looking at all this other stuff, which I find fascinating, by the way. Well, and David, also they talked about the asteroid that's heading this way. I saw that as well. But the quantum computing thing is fascinating to me because when they're talking about quantum computing, they're talking it in terms of especially the metaphysical side. And I'm not saying it's true. I just find it fascinating. So I'm listening to people. So I'm listening to the technical aspect of it. But now I'm kind of shifting to like the metaphysical aspect of it, right? They're basically talking about we've tapped into multiverses. Now there's a part of me that thinks that Disney's pushing this narrative. Or Disney Marvel's pushing this narrative because their movies are sucking right now, dude, and then they're like they want to jump on a hype train. Because no matter what happens, dude, Disney, look, dude, people are rejecting the multiverse in the Disney Cinematic Universe, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and Marvel's still going full speed ahead, and they're not course correcting. So maybe this will help them, right? Because now there's a lot of people searching like quantum physics, uh, quantum, not just the quantum engineering, the technology, all that kind of stuff. But for me, the interesting thing is the multiverse. Like I don't have a problem with the multiverse. I just hate the way Marvel's doing it because they don't understand what they're doing. Like to the point where they just shouldn't have touched it at all. I said that years ago when they decided to do this kind of stuff because that's one of the hardest things to write multiverses. Because multiverses in comic books, man, if you guys didn't know that, they usually were massive corrections. like the universe of whatever comic book company they went a little bit too far and they had to reset because you know like I know for a fact Marvel in their cosmic universe, dude, they just kept on having, you know, they would expand the universe. That was cool. You meet the new races. That's cool. New power sets, all this kind of stuff. There's a cosmic scale versus a hero scale, a planetary hero scale, and stuff like that. I loved all that. I sucked all that stuff in. But what ended up happening is kind of like it became like the villain of the week because they kept on having to introduce things and characters and stuff that was more powerful, more powerful, more powerful, more powerful to reach, to come to zenith. Then you hit a ceiling and then multiverse, boom, right? And then the people, I said this all the time on the channel, man. The only people that could pull that off was DC, right? Because it's kind of in the DNA, it's the history, right? If you go look at the history of DC from a comic book perspective, guys, I know I'm a huge Marvel fan. I have anti-DC meetings and stuff like that, but as a comic book guy, um, from back in the day too, guys, not now. This is the way I grew up, but you have people. I had anti-DC leanings back then, but as a comic book person, right? You just put on a different hat because you want to experience comic books in all its glory, right? And then DC was like the only company that could do that because of the history, of rights and stuff like that. It's interesting. WB. I know there was a story about WB and then shutting down the Wonder Woman game and stuff going on over there. Again, this is why I don't talk about being a DC guy. I'll leave that to E-Rock and Unlimited. They're more of the DC guys in our group, rightfully so, because they the way that I spend time in Marvel, these guys spend time in DC. So. But yeah, it's never, Marvel, like they hit a zenith point, dude, where you have like what is that Beyond and the one from Beyond and those crap like that. I'm not saying that's like characters. I'm just trying to make a point, right? And then you hit a wall, dude, and or you hit a ceiling, you hit a wall, you get stuck, and then you got to reset, right? And that's never been their forte. And then in my experiences at the comic books I read, they're the stuff that I enjoyed the most from Marvel, even when it was something that was big, or something that was multi-arch, right, or multi-level and stuff like that. It's always in the little things that they would do that I enjoyed it the most. David says, "I'm surprised people conflate Marvel with DC. Why do people conflate the two comic book universes, not realizing they are different universes that could never cross over?" Well, David, because the comic book nerd is gone. You know, it's just like sports. If I'm being honest, right? Like when I was growing up, dude, I didn't. I'm a Steeler fan, dude. I hated every team, and I literally hated every team in the AFC Central. Right? I just, and dude, I have no, there's interstate rivalries. I didn't know any about any of that kind of stuff. All I knew is I bleed black and gold. I'm a Steeler fan. Hate the Browns. Hate the Bengals. Hate the Oilers. That's the Oilers. The Houston had a team called the Oilers back then. And who's the other one? It was the Browns, Bengals, Oilers, right? And then there was us. And and it was funny, dude, because I really didn't have a problem with teams outside of our division. It was just inside of our division, dude. It was such a like how people talk about console wars and stuff like that. It was such a real thing when I was growing up, dude. Every time we played the Browns, like my attitude was like, we could lose every game, but at least as long as we beat Cleveland, it's a good season, right? And again, I'm not even from that area, dude. I didn't even grow up in the main. I mean, I wasn't born in the mainland. I was born on an island in the middle of the Pacific. Then I ended up moving to the mainland eventually, but even from here, that's just the way it was, dude. Just this, you like the Steelers, you hated the Browns, or the Bengals, or the Oilers, dude. And as a Steeler fan, dude, I was young when they had their Super Bowl year. So when I came into my Steeler fandom, was during the 80s, and that was some rough times, man. And then the other teams were really good, man. Houston, especially, man. I hated the Oilers, bro. But for some reason, the visceral hate was always for the Browns. But the Oilers, dude, they had like Warren Moon and like Lorenzo Wright was their running back, dude. They had like good receivers. Their defense was good, man. Um, they should have won Super Bowl. Because I don't think they ever won a Super Bowl. But they should have won a couple. They were that good. The Central was actually pretty solid across the board. And Pittsburgh had dominated since the 70s. So anyway, if to answer your question, dude, that's why a lot of people are not fans like how I was back in the day. You were a DC fan, you were a Marvel fan, like you were Sega, or you were Nintendo. The interesting thing about that, though, even back then, is that you were a fan of the industry, or like you were a fan of comics, right? On top of being a Marvel fan, I was also a fan of comic books, so I'd read a lot of different stuff because I love comics. Or like you could be a fan of Sega first and foremost, man. I put Sega above everything, right? But then I would still play Nintendo. I even had PlayStation, believe it or not. You know what I talk about. The way I am now is different from how I was then, dude. I don't, because you have to own every console. You don't have to buy every game from the companies, but you have to have every console because there might be a game that you want to play on the console. And console exclusivity was way different back then than it is now. There's reasons why you played Nintendo games. There's reasons why Nintendo made the games that they played. A lot of their like the controller, like that's what the Nintendo controller, man, was. Third parties didn't like their controller because those controllers were built to play their games, right? Like the Z button, Z axis, right? All that kind of stuff. PlayStation was kind of like that a little bit. Sega was just on it. Sega was everything about their stuff came everything from the arcade, and then they grew in their console market and stuff like that, and they became a player, right? And now I'm on Xbox, dude, and I'm stuck on Xbox now, which is cool, man. I mean, again, all the drama aside, man, I think Xbox is pretty much untouchable. But that's just to answer your question, David. Sorry, that's what it is. People are not fans on the level of how fans were back in the day when I was growing up, right? Like you either like DC or you like Marvel. You like one or the other. You couldn't like both. You could read DC comic books, right? But even and I'll be honest with you, dude. I started reading DC comics. I mean, I love reading comic books in general, right? But you would read DC comics because like the art of war, man. You have to know your enemy, right? Like, and then you arguing with your friends. It's like, yeah, Superman, dude. Right. And this is how I knew a lot about the DC people that were working at DC. This is how you find out that a lot of these, because we didn't have the internet and stuff like that back then, dude, and the publications were not big, right? Because it was made of young people in my generation that supported comic books, right? We didn't have money and stuff like that, but what it was is that's just how you found out about certain artists that worked over at DC and you appreciate it. And then over time, these guys just kept on jumping back and forth, so that you get excited, right? Because you hated the dude. I hate to say this, man, but this is just the honest truth, right? It's just like Kojima, right? I'll say this, dude. Like you had a guy that was on DC, predominantly DC artist or DC writer. Then they come over to Marvel. So when they're at DC, you'd hate them, right? You still read their stuff, but you'd hate them. And it's that is horrible. So, but then as soon as he jumped on your book, like if he came over and did X-Men, I was like, oh man, we got this dude. And all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying? That's a fanboy thing. That's a fandom thing. So my point being with Kojima, like mostly associated with PlayStation, especially with Jeff Keighley always kissing his ass, right? And so again, Kojima's now doing games for Xbox, right? And then he brought some of his games over, right? So then people are kind of like, oh, okay, well, since you brought your game over here, I'll pick it up and I'll try it. So the streams, man, the streams weren't crossed back when I was growing up, at least when it came to this kind of stuff, but it doesn't matter anymore. There's the hardcore fan is gone. I find that in sports as well, dude. I was a hardcore Laker fan. Still am. I still am a Laker fan. That'll never change. I grew up with the Lakers. Which is amazing to me, man, because all my other teams are for Pittsburgh, but the Lakers I love. Especially when I was coming into basketball, dude, and I was watching basketball because my dad played basketball. But when I came into basketball on my own, man, that's when the Lakers, that's when Magic came in, and then the whole Magic Bird thing. So naturally, the whole Boston versus LA thing, and that was amazing. That was good basketball. And then Jordan came in and just flipped everything upside down. So and then the league expanded, so that was good. So here's something I heard. Speaking of fandom activation. With COD Black Ops 6 reveal plans for a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game. I don't think it's Pro Skater 6. I think it's Pro Skater 3 and 4. It was announced. Yeah, so I thought it was a new Tony Hawk game. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they do both of that, David, when it comes to Tony Hawk. Right? They'll reintroduce the older games, maybe give it an upgrade, and then bring in a new game. Like Sega did with Ninja Gaiden. Like we get the Ninja Gaiden we have in Game Pass right now, which I have to go finish. But that was the catalyst for them to reintroduce the character to the general population. Some of these guys probably never played a Ninja Gaiden game. And it'll prep them for getting people ready for the new game that's coming out at the end of the year. So I think that's maybe what they might be doing with Tony Hawk. I'm not saying you're wrong. But I wouldn't be surprised if they do 3 and 4 and then introduce 6. Because since Microsoft owns them right now, you know, and I tell people this all the time, you know, like they have so many. So people are like they have so many properties. Like there's like hold on. Oh well, I can't hate on them. It's old school. Anyway, right? So many people like when they talk about this kind of things, right? So my point being is like, look, they have a lot of games. Xbox owns a lot of studios right now, and those studios that they bought have a lot of IP outside of what Xbox has. So you got to be careful. I know, again, I say this on the channel all the time. Xbox makes a lot of deals with these guys outside of their own studios, third party stuff. You saw the ID of Xbox. I don't know if you guys watched it. I hate IGN, so I didn't really want to watch it. Um, so outside of those type of deals, you don't want to step on people's toes. Right? It's a balancing act. If I'm being quite honest, man, that's probably what's keeping Aaron and them all busy, right? Because you don't want to release something and it have undercut something else that you have a partnership with, especially with these indie studios, right? You want to give them room to grow, to breathe, to have their time in the sun. I feel bad for a lot of these companies, man, because people just don't have money, and people are not focusing on and not just gaming, just things um, look. Let's be honest, it's like it's almost like a luxury to do a lot of the stuff that people were just doing years ago, going to movies, going out to eat, buying games, buying consoles. This is why I don't lose my mind over the whole consoles have hit a ceiling. No, dude, people are broke. People are broke. That's the answer for everything right now. People are broke. Now, once people like, if the economy turns around and people start having extra cash, then we can look at it more honestly, right? Because a lot of this stuff is social engineered as well. Because there's a lot of people that are anti-capitalist in the government and in these positions of power. And by anti-capitalist, they hate capitalism, but they also want to be in control of it. Because these guys, man, a lot of these guys are old school, liberal, leftist, communists, basically, right? And they have this thing, they feel a certain way about capitalism and stuff like that. They've tried for years, for decades, actually, to implement their system of what they feel would be good for humanity, and people reject it because at the end of the day, um, capitalism. At the end of the day, yeah, it can be bad. It can be full of problems, stuff like that. But it addresses the basic needs of most people, right? You have to work to produce, right? And when you and you have to work to survive, you have to work to produce things because you need to produce things to survive, right? And so at the end of the day, dude, it's about who controls the work and who controls the means of production, right? Is what these guys are looking at. For me personally, it's about the individual over these guys. They want the state, or this is why I'm so anti-government. Right? These guys want the state to control it. They wanna cabal of people to control it. And that's what you see happening with the new world order stuff, right? So there's all of that stuff that you have to factor in. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to bare bones and our economy and how our economy works and stuff like that, you might not have a bounce back just for the simple fact that a lot of people have adjusted, right? Because it's gone on for so many years, and that was the goal, in my opinion. That was the goal of all of this stuff, right? Is to change people's to change people's the way they spend their money, the way they consume products, all of that stuff, dude. Because there's a bunch of nut jobs out there, dude, that are just saying that we need to save the planet, we need to save animals, we need to. Our population's too big. How long have we been hearing that, dude? I've been hearing that for 2 decades, or no, by 4 or 5 decades. I've been hearing about how civilization's bad, how overpopulation is going to occur. We don't have enough resources. Now, what's everybody talking about? Right? There's certain groups and certain nations that could cease to exist because the population have dropped. And this is the problem with people that try and socially engineer stuff. Dude, there's a cause and effect that I like to talk about on this channel all the time. Right? This is not just a zero sum game, man. The decisions that you make and the stuff that you do influences. You see that right now in our politics, man. What's going on? Like, I don't know if you watched this about when the president had Zelensky in the White House, and Zelensky kept on bringing up past presidents, and no, I don't. He's not wrong. We're bringing that stuff up, right? Like we made our bed as well, and we've done things that we shouldn't have done, and now we're paying for it. But since there's a new president in the White House, he wants to change all that. But that doesn't negate everything that we've done up until this point, right? So there's going to be there's going to be some suffering, right? That's what this whole next 4 years is going to be about, bro. Suffering. Hopefully we can lessen it, dude. But some of these people, man, I'm looking at them and they're like, oh, no, 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 dude, you guys haven't learned. You guys don't understand what's happening right now. I say Activision could delay Pro Skater 6 so that the game is ready for launch. 3 and 4 are definitely the best of the OG Tony Hawk games. 1 and 2 are good games, but 3 and 4 are great games. Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, David, dude, I stopped after 2. And it's nothing against Tony Hawk. I probably started playing something else, as always is the case. When you have choices and options, right? That's one of the drawbacks, right? And it's a great problem to have. Don't get me wrong. But 3 and 4 are great games. Yeah, yeah. And so somebody like me, since I didn't really play 3 and 4, like I don't even remember what it's. Yeah, I definitely didn't play 3 and 4. Um, if they do a re-release, that would be in my wheelhouse. And of course, since they own it, they'll probably drop it in Game Pass. So why not? Yeah, Pro Skater 6. Wait, is that Tony Hawk though? Pro Skater? That's Tony Hawk Pro Skater, right? Sorry. I don't know, man. Activision has so many IPs. I talk about this all the time on the channel. I really want them to bring back, um, uh, what's it called? Skylanders. That was like one of my favorite games. I played it. It's a special place in my heart, man. I played with my kids. My kids were really young, and that's the first video game they actually played. Aside from all the learning stuff we shove in their face, right? But then Skylanders was my thing with them, and it was cool, man. It was like they just watching them play video games. Him and her, my daughter and her brother. That was a good time, man. You saw all the stuff, dude. Right? Of kids playing games, like I know, like they try and race to the chest to open it first to get all the stuff. And I remember myself like, Dad, she's taking all the stuff. The stupid stuff that would happen when I was growing up, man, back in the day. Nice to see that still in play. You know what I mean? But yeah, they have a ton of games, man. They could their library alone, and I think one of the reasons why is like Phil talks about that they have these discussions, man, because you got to keep in mind that maybe some of the people don't want to do the games, they want to do something else, and which is fine with me because that's how you're gonna get South of Midnight later on. This is how you got a game like About. Um, but I hope they don't totally disregard it, dude, or maybe get people on it that want to make the game. I think that's important. You got to get people on these. You want to get people on these productions that want to be there, that want to do it, right? And given that Microsoft, I'm not saying they're writing blank checks, but you have the security of working for a huge company like Microsoft. They're definitely dialed into this kind of stuff, man. I mean, look, we talked about Dia, me, and Sega Man talked about this. I'm saying Dia, me, and Sega Man. We're talking about this in the podcast last week, and where we you know, there's one of the reasons why I think Microsoft will keep Xbox around is just you have a public market. Um, you have a basically a built-in test system right there with all this kind of stuff, dude. They're probably putting stuff in right now. I talked about it, dude. There's something that I would love is as a person who lives where I live and can't really connect with people that I know because we live in all different time zones, right? So if I play a game that needs to be co-op, right? I would like the AI to be way better, and I like the AI to be a little bit more flowing in the game, right? To kind of adjust to how I would like the game to be, how I consume the game. Like if you see that a little bit with Forza, right? They incorporate that type of AI into that game, and with the stuff that they're doing now, it could be so next level that you would think you're playing with real people in that sense, right? And you can either and I would like him to not just to get it to that realistic level, but to get it to the level where you can kind of manipulate um, your NPCs to the fact of how you play, right? They can take all that information, right, and then create a character for you, or you can be involved in the process, create NPCs for you that will play the way you want to play, instead of me giving orders and commands. Now, can they get it to that level? I don't know, right? It's cool to speculate, but that's what I would like personally. Right? Instead of having to bark orders at people, man, the AI will be sitting there going, well, normally he likes to he's more of a tank. He's more of a tanker, so let me sit back and let me pick, let's set stuff up, right? Like for anytime you play a game, like when I play Overwatch, right, and then I pick one of my favorite characters is the tank dude, man, and I pick him, dude, and then you play with people that like I have healers. Like I was in one game where I had 3 healers, dude, and none of them are healing me, right? And then I'm like, bro, the point of the game that we're playing, that we have to take a point. So I'm coming in, I'm putting up my shield. If you guys heal me, or then we can maintain the point. But they were over there fighting, and I'm like, okay, right. And that's one of the things with Overwatch that they're gonna have to start looking at. right, and correcting. That's why they really need to get us. They need to get a story mode in Overwatch, because there's people that are playing Overwatch that loves the characters, but they don't really play the game. They're playing the game because they like the characters and the stuff that they bought, and there's nothing wrong with that, guys. I'm not complaining about that. Consume the game the way that you want to, but again, when I'm playing, dude, these military choppers, dude, they're constantly flying over. Sometimes they fly low, dude, and that's irritating. Sorry, that's what you're hearing right now. And so like give people single story mode to kind of thin out the multiplayer because these guys are killing the multiplayer, right? Or just have an open mode where people can just do whatever they want to do. And I don't know how hard it is for the team to do that, but that's a problem that they need to work on. Right? It's a part I experienced, man. There's no point in me being in a game playing a character, playing a point. So then I'll just switch to another character if I get bored, right? But there's some characters that I want to play, but I can't because I'll just be a bullet sponge and just constantly die. And then people that play the game on the other side realize that as well. Because I do the same thing, dude. I'll just switch over and just if I wanted to get killed, I'll just switch it to a character and just get my kills. And I don't know how they're gonna fix that. I think that's one of the issues they could do with Overwatch is to give people story mode to thin out the multiplayer ranks. Because that's how you play Overwatch is a multiplayer game. Right? If you give a story mode or objective modes and stuff like that, that's specific to a character, that can be a single player experience. I think that would help them a lot because it'll thin out those multiplayer ranks and get it back to good, in my opinion. David says Tony Hawk is what we are these days as gamer. He live. Oh wait, what? Tony Hawk is what we are these days as gamers. He live. Oh, Tony Hawk did. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's good to see, man. That's how you know he was involved in the process, and you can tell, dude. You know, the proof is in the pudding, right? You can tell by the way the game is played, man. And I've seen multiple interviews with him because at one time, man, Tony Hawk was super huge. Like it was like on that level, right? And I play Tony Hawk, dude, and I don't skate, right? But they were able to take what's good about skating and incorporate it into a game, and it worked. And that's what it boils down to at the end of the day. You can make that connection with people outside of your who your audience would be. And I bought a surfing game for my nephew because he loves to surf, and he would play it, but you can tell like that connection still wasn't there. But he played it because he liked playing games, but it didn't have that visceral feel like how for a lot of people who like to skate or like the skating lifestyle and stuff like that when they play 29. So yeah, guys. So David, man, thanks for being here, dude. About an hour and a half. I'm gonna have to wrap it up because I'm gonna have to go run some errands. I just wanted to do like an all-in chat, man. I appreciate you stopping by, though, David, and other people for joining in the conversation. I know we're kind of all over the place, but it was just an open mic thing, talk about various topics and stuff like that. I wanted to give my thoughts on about. Great game, dude. Don't. There's a lot of negativity about the game that you should just ignore. Right? There's a lot of stuff being said about that you should ignore. You know, it's not supposed to be Skyrim. You know why? I mean, I as a person that makes a game, you can be influenced by Skyrim, but why? If I'm making a game, man, why would I make a game like another game, like exactly like another game, right? And if you guys haven't caught on to this, when it comes to Xbox, a lot of the studios that they have, the people that they're working with, it's not about it's about creating new experiences, right? And then of course you'll get the sprinkles in there, like how we got with Ninja Gaiden Black. But even that was even reworked, right? And you can tell when you play the game, dude. It's always been a great game, but it just seems better now, right? And so you get the best of both worlds in that sense. But for the most part, I mean, they want to create worlds and stuff like that. It's not creating AAA games just to create AAA games. That's what's happening on the Sony side, and that's what they're having problems with because these guys they don't care about the game, dude. If I'm being honest with you, they just care about the narrative, right? Being able to weaponize their lineup, right? To use in console wars, which don't matter, right? At the end of the day, yes, I participate in it, right? It is what it is, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, dude. It's about the games, and these dudes do not, as you can see, man. These guys don't support the games, and that's why Sony had to shift. That's why Microsoft shifted, because you're telling them you wanted AAA games, but Microsoft is smart. Microsoft says you're telling us this, but the numbers don't add up, right? But we want to create, so if we're going to create AAA games, you know what would be great if we had a service, right? And bam, they have a service. Right? That's why they created Game Pass, right? So they can, if they're going to create something, it's something that people can play, a lot of different people can play, take a chance on, right? Again, overhyped demo disc, right? But then it works out, right? Because at the end of the day, people they understand people's buying habits and how people participate in gaming. It's in flux now. I get that, granted, but It is what it is, but it's in flux. But that's why they're trying to be fluid with all this stuff. But it worked out for them, right? And it worked out for us as gamers. This is why it blows my mind. This is why I call out people now. It's like, dude, if you're a gamer, you should have Game Pass. It's a no-brainer, dude. Because as a gamer, you should like to play games, and then nobody's putting that out there like Xbox or Game Pass. But because you're stuck on stupid, for a lot of these guys, Xbox sucks, Xbox is dead, Xbox. Yeah, dude, that's on you. That's why I say a lot of you guys aren't gamers, man. Because at the end of the day, dude, you'd have the system and you'd have the service. Yeah, thanks, David. Appreciate it. There's a lot of stuff being said about Fable that should be ignored by the Xbox haters. Yeah. Well, there's something that I think that they're gonna do with Fable, and I'm kind of torn about it because it's been in the gravy of it's been in the DNA of Fable ever since I started playing Fable. Um, that's some of the stuff I think they might be overcorrecting. At the end of the day, dude, Fable to me, dude, the reason why I love Fable so much is the world that they created. But um, because the world they created is awesome. But when you live in that Fable world, there's a lot of caricature stuff. There's a lot of British. The humor is very British. And there's a lot of stuff on there that I grew up watching things network. I grew up watching Benny Hill and all these shows, Faulty Towers and stuff like that. So I like that type of dry wit and humor that the British productions have, and so that's one thing that drew me into Fable as a game. And even back then, dude, they had certain things that were considered taboo. But now, with the way the current environment is, and the climate is, I don't know. I think they might have delayed it to take some stuff out. That's my personal opinion, David. I could be wrong, right? But Fable, like Halo, I'll even put Viva Pinata, man. Those are three games for me that are staples for Xbox, my Xbox experiences, right? And MechAssault was one of them too, but MechAssault no longer goes on. But and then I should say, to be fair, Viva Pinata also. That's why I'm hoping that the game that Toys for Bob is working on is Viva Pinata. So I absolutely love and I was addicted to that game. And nothing against Gears, guys. I'm just not a Gears person. There's way, and I say that not as a strike against Gears or as hate towards Gears. It's just because we have so many hardcore Gears guys in our group. I feel it's not fair to me to sit there and say I'm a Gears person, right? Because these guys are hardcore, right? Same thing I say about DC, man. I know about DC. I can talk about DC and stuff like that, but I'm not a DC guy because I'm a Marvel guy. Right? But I can talk about it. I mean, at least my experiences with it. Yeah, so that's what I'm wondering. Why did they? I mean, on the top end, it's just might because they're overcrowded, or maybe they have stuff to work on. That's fair game for a lot of these games. That's what they do. Of course, Xbox gets a lot of hate for that because it's Xbox. Don't care, right? That narrative is old with me, and it should be old for everybody else. But as far as some of the stuff, I think David that they might be pulling some stuff out of there. And by stuff, I mean like let's be honest, LGBT stuff, possibly, right? That's just my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. Uh, some socially engineering stuff, right? Some woke stuff because that was already in the game, but it was in the fabric of the game, and it didn't distract from the game. That's what I meant to say about earlier, right? But everything, with everything being so agenda driven, man, dude, that's just the way it is. Like a lot of people are wondering about all the cutbacks and everything that we're doing right now. It's like, dude, if we don't do that, if we don't correct the economy right now, dude, we're a deep kimchi. Not us. Like me, I'm old already, dude, but my kids definitely. Right? We're trying to get to we're on the precipice, man, and we don't want to go over. So a lot of this stuff, again, with the gaming stuff, it could be overcorrection. I don't know. I just when the game comes out, I'll play it and then I'll give my thoughts, just like I did with Avowed today. Right? And again, this is why Microsoft. It was great that they did Game Pass to get people to try it out, right? And so people can walk away like, okay, whether they loved it and like I'm gonna buy it, or there's like they didn't like it for whatever reasons and they're not gonna participate in it. They just can move on to something else and play. And again, that's why I'm ultra focused on this, man. If you're a gamer, you should have Game Pass. And Microsoft is trying to put it everywhere. So again, I don't think it'll ever go to PlayStation or Nintendo, dude, because that'll be a death knell for those guys. You know, and I hear people talk about that all the time, right? And a lot of them are just Xbox haters. Are like, dude, why would your console want that on your? Why would they want it on your console? Unless like unless Microsoft does something ridiculous, like give Sony a 90-10 cut, and Sony's getting 90% of the profits, which is not going to happen. And it'd have to be something that they do where they can get money from that. So in that case, maybe, right? That's the only way I can see it happening. Maybe do a 50-50 split, right? So that they both get their money. But you guys know how I feel about all this stuff anyway. I'm not gonna get to go down that road. I am an Xbox gamer, which means I am an Xbox console gamer, and that's what I am. That's what I'm gonna be. And then when that goes away, I'm out. All right, just letting you guys know. But yeah, dude, I'm David, dude. We'll see. We'll see what happens, man. But I gotta keep it 100 on this channel. You know what I'm saying? We'll see. But the game looks amazing to me, dude. I was hooked from the jump. Didn't have a problem with the way the girl looked, regardless of what the people doing it, what their reasons were, right? And hopefully they don't tell me, right? I don't need to know. Just keep it to yourself. But if you do tell me, then I might have a problem with it. But other than that, dude, the world of Fable has always been a characterization of the genre, right? And they did it to great effect, man. And so when I saw the girl again, I talked about this on the channel before. When I saw the character, it didn't bother me at all. You know, I'm like, yeah, dude, that's kind of Fable, right? Especially like right now, everybody's saying that the girl looks better. And my thing has been because it's the trailer, right? And then because she looked different in the next trailer. Two things, right? It could be because when they released the trailer, it wasn't finished. It was unfinished work. That's the build that they had at that time. So over time, it gets better and better, right? Because if you look at what they're doing ultra realism, right? Even in Avowed, it's like that. I just don't care for the artistic style of a lot of the characters. The world itself, though, amazing. Um, so it Fable, that's what I saw too, right? And it made sense. Like especially in the first trailer, guys, just go back and listen to it. It's the narrative that's being said, right? You're getting the perspective. That's one of the great terms in the game, right? You have this guy, and you think he's just talking about who he's just a disgruntled citizen, or maybe he had a bad run-in with the hero in the Fable series, which can happen because you have choices, right? When you play Fable, so maybe he ran across a bad hero, right? Quote unquote. And so by the end of the trailer, right, you realize, oh, this dude's telling the story, and he's actually the giant, which fits into the whole. That's probably one of the best trailers I've seen in a long time. The way that it was set up, the story that it was told, that it realizes what it is, right? And I loved every single minute of it, right? So when I looked at the girl, I'm like, okay, yeah, she does look a bit, I guess by their standards, ugly, but it's Fable. So to me, everybody in Fable is a caricature. So they could be going that route. But for me personally, it's just like the giant is giving the narrative, and he hates heroes. So of course he's not going to paint the person because the way he's telling it, and the way that it's being shown in the game, right? It's juxtaposed with each other, right? But as far as him hating heroes, that will come out. That's coming out in his narrative, which would taint the way that you look at the character. So like to me, I'm seeing it to the giant's eyes, is what I'm trying to say, and I thought that was really well done, personally. And that's why it's still a trailer that I go back and watch to this day because I just love absolutely what they did. In fact, every single Fable trailer that they've done, I've loved, and it's giving me so much hype for the game. Again, I know I've been harping on South and Midnight, guys, just because of the mythological connection. Growing up in the South, dude, they have a lot of tales. They have a lot of um, urban legends, right, within the South itself. Just like here in Hawaii, do we have a lot of our own urban legends? Like one of the ones is when I go to a mall, it's in Kahala Mall. Dude, a lot of local people don't like going to the bathroom on the downstairs because there's supposed to be a lady without a face. Right. So what happens is you walk down these stairs. Yeah, it is a bit creepy, dude. Just the way that, because this is a 60s, 70s design to the way that they built this, right? And it's like a lower level. So you're walking down, and for some reason, dude, there's just multiple mirrors on the wall. There's just a ton of mirrors. And so what people are saying is like when they're walking the mirrors, when they're walking through all these mirrors, people have said like they've seen a figure, and then when they see the figure has no face. Right. And something happened. There's a lady that died there, and something happened where her face got messed. I don't know. This whole story, but I've heard so many versions of it. But all I know, the one thing that's true is that there's a lady that has no face there. Right. That's the ghost story over there. So I bring that up just to say like every place has their own type of urban legends. And growing up the South, you hear this stuff as well. So I'm looking forward to what they're gonna do with that and how they're going to present it from the videos that I've seen now. I like the art design that they went with. I also like the decision they went for the stop motion. Makes it very unique, and it looks like it fits the art style and the story that they're going to be telling. Everything is cohesive, right? And again, when you're owned by Microsoft and they give you the time to cook, right? This is the kind of stuff you come on. I don't know how the game's going to be, right? I'm pretty hyped about it, dude. It looks like it's going to be cool. I can tell already by some of the play mechanics and stuff like that. I'm going to enjoy certain aspects of it already. The the kicker for me will definitely be how the story is presented, and everything looks like it's on par to be awesome. I love the design they went with the characters. Definitely the world building is on point for me so far. It's just not one of these platformers that you're going to be going like it has a platform elements and stuff like that, but they're gonna fill it out with a lot of story and a lot of characters and a lot of the world building that I like. So that's why it's been such my hype title, man. I think it's coming out like next month. Is it in March or in April? It's coming out soon. I know that much, right? And that's again that's why I've been so overly hyped about it. And plus, I love every single trailer that they drop. Um, the guys who are making the game did We Happy Few, and I watched my daughter play that game, dude. And that game is absolutely amazing. And back then, dude, they didn't have like, dude. I mean, there's a era of redundancy with the game and stuff like that, but the characters and the world is so well done that it doesn't bother you, right? It just keeps on. Just that's what I'm running in with the WoW, dude. Some of the stuff is some classical trope stuff that you get in RPGs, but there's just things that they do with the game as far as the leveling up, the mechanics, all the stuff that keeps you engaged. The story is well done. The dialogue is perfect. Obsidian does that. I can't wait till they start going bigger, and get to that 4A level. Because I think this game is definitely 2A, 3A level. Because there's definitely 3A stuff in the game. I know some people, because they're a smaller studio and stuff like that, it feels maybe a little bit 2A, which I'm glad, right? Because that's what they're known for. I don't want them to lose what makes them great. Oh, did I miss that, Dave? Okay, no, Dave said. So there's a lot of things they do that makes it great. So I have no problem with that at all. It's again, it's the drive that keeps me coming back to play the game. But what I'm saying is like with We Happy Few, man, I'm talking about like the art design. Not everybody's cup of tea, but I enjoy to do that. That 60s pop, British type, British invasion style to it that I liked, and then the music was amazing. Everything about it was good. So again, big hype for South of Midnight and see how that goes. But anyway, guys, let me wrap it up, man. I know you guys I've been going on for an hour, almost 2 hours now by myself. But anyway, I just want to do a quick hangout with you guys, man. Thank you guys for all the support. Thank you guys for coming in and commenting. David, thanks for being here. Dude, I see people popping in and out and stuff like that. Look, dude, I know it's a Saturday morning and a lot of you guys are busy. This is the only time I can do it, though. I'll try to do one a little bit later, man. I'll talk about other stuff, some of the videos that I wanted to put back out. So it probably won't be a hangout, but if you guys want to listen, you're more than welcome to come join the channel and hang out with me, right? So, David, thanks for being here, brother. Xbox on the channel, wholesaler forever. We out.